In this movie, I'm going to show you how to read from a text file using Python, and I'm also going to show you how to write to a text file, or create a new text file and write to the new text file. Now, in the last movie, I showed you this program. Well, I ended up showing you this program and using this text file. Now, this Python file called files1.py I saved to the desktop on my Ubuntu Linux machine. I'm currently using Ubuntu Linux version 17.10, and I created a text file using the text editor that comes with the Ubuntu Linux, and using my Python 3 program I'm opening this file for reading, and I'm reading 10 characters from the file into a variable called the text. I print the text and I'm printing the type of the text variable, and the data type of the variable is string. When I finish using the file, I close the file. Now, this is the point in the previous movie where I ended the movie, so let's just start from this point. So I'm going to run the code, and there we have the output. So I'm reading 10 characters from the file called file1.txt. This is file1.txt, and a new line character \n counts as one character. So here we've read 10 characters into this variable, then printed the variable and print the data type of that variable, which is data type or class string. And if you want to read a line of a file, then we could use the read line method instead of the read in brackets 10 for 10 characters. If you want to read 5 characters, you put a 5 there. If you want to read 2 characters, you put a 2 there. I'll show you how this works now. We run, and there you see I've read just 2 characters from the file. So whenever you open a file, it opens to read at the top of the file. Okay, now I'm going to show you my example programs using files. Now, if you go to my home page here and go to the schedule, we're currently in the fall semester. I'll go there, click on any of these links, which will take you to the schedule for the semester. Now, we're using files. Now, we're using files usually in week 9 of the course, and if you click here, it will take you to the PowerPoint presentation, and we can look at the example programs by clicking on the example Python 3 programs link. And now we need to scroll down to programs that start with 09. So here we've got example program 09-01, which opens a file called file1.txt in the ctemp folder. Now, this is how to specify the ctemp folder on a Windows machine. If you don't give any path, then just give the name of the file. Then if you use a Python program that's in the same folder, you do not need to specify the path of the file. Okay, so here we're seeing how to read a line from a file using the read line method. So let's go back and use the read line method. Now, in this case, you don't put anything in the brackets because it's going to read the whole line. And let's see what happens when we use the read line method and run. And you can see here it reads the first line of the text file. Now, in the first line of my text file is just one word, an. Okay, so let's read, we don't really need to know that the variable that text is read into is a string variable, so I'll remove this line here. So I'll cut that line out. But say we want to read the second line as well, we can copy this, and now it's going to read 2 lines and print out those lines and then close the file. So let's now run this, and you can see that it's now read the 2 lines from the text file, and here are the first 2 lines. Now the reason we're getting this blank space here is that at the end of each of these lines, when I created the text file, I pressed the enter key. Now the enter key will give you a new line. It'll take the cursor down to the next new line, and when you press the enter key, there is actually a hidden character, the new line character, which is \n. It's an escape character, and that's got a length of 1. So let's do something interesting here. Let's print the length of, let's remove these here, don't need a space there. So when we read a line, let's print the length of the line. Print the length of the text. And let's run this again and see what happens. Now here is our text file. Here is my program, and let's run the file, run the program. Now it's telling me that the length of my string is 5. Now if you look here, it looks like the length is 4. Now it's also counting the hidden new line character, which is stored as the escape character \n at the end of the string. Now if you wanted to, you could strip that off. So I'm going to show you a string method called strip, which will strip the new line character off the end of the string. Then the string will have a length of 4. So here let's use the, let's say new text is assigned the text dot strip. Now strip is a string method, and its purpose is to strip off from a string any white space, any white characters, or at the beginning or end of the line, any hidden characters like a tab or a new line or spaces before or after a string. So once we've got our new text, let's print the new text and then print the length of the new text. So I will now type print new text and print the length of new text. Now when you use strip on a string, you have to assign the result to a new string. That's because strings are immutable. You cannot change them, but you can assign the result of any operation on a string to a new string, and that's what I've done here. So let's close the old shell and run this code in a new shell, and there you see the first line read the text and the new line character, giving a length of 5 to the text string. Then we stripped off the new line character from the end of the string called the text, assigned the result to the new text string variable, and then we printed that with its new length, which is 4. So it's important to realize when you read a line from a text file that you're also reading the new line character. Now you won't be able to see it except when it's printed out. Here it's actually printing the new line. The string will include that new line. Now the length of a new line is 1, even though the escape character looks like 2 characters, \n. It actually counts as 1 character. It's a special character. It's an escape character. It's only 1 character. Okay, it has a length of 1. So when we're dealing with text files, if we want to remove any white space at the beginning or end of a string, we can use the strip method on the string and assign the result to a new string. You cannot use the strip method on a string. It will not change the value of the string. It has to be assigned to a new string. The result of stripping a string must be assigned to a new string. Okay, so there we have that. Now we're reading from a file here, but what about writing to a file? Let's scroll down and let's do a bit of writing. Now if you want to write to a file, you're going to use the write method, and somewhere in here I've got the write method, and there we go. So in program number 209-02, I'm creating a new file which will be written to. So I'm just going to keep that open and I'll show you. Let's at the bottom here write to a new file, and you could call it whatever you like. I'll call it tester2. So let's copy this code, and I'm going to paste it at the bottom of this code. And now file, let's give it a different handle. I'll call it file2, this one. And now I'm not on a Windows machine, so I'm just going to write to my current folder, which is the desktop, and I'm going to call my new file tester2.txt. Now the W is the code that refers to, it's the write mode. So we previously were using the read mode, now we're going to use the write mode. So tester2 will be created. It's going to be a new file, and we're going to call this file file2. You could call it anything you like, any valid variable name. So the file2 is actually a file object, and this is the name that will be stored on the disk, but in the program we're going to refer to tester2.txt as the name file2. Now if you print file2, it will simply print out the details, some information about the file. We don't actually need that line, so I'll remove it. So what I'm going to do is write to my file. Now today is actually Friday, so I'm going to change this to Friday, and so I'm going to write to the file, today is Friday, and I'm also going to write a new line. \n is an escape character, it means new line, and when you include \n within the quote marks of a string, it will write a new line after it's finished writing the text, today is Friday. So I should say here tomorrow is Saturday, and there we have our code. So file2 is the name that we're going to use for tester2.txt. Now I'm currently on my desktop on my computer. So this file, files1.py, is the program file. It's on my desktop. Now it's going to create a new file called tester2.txt, which will also be placed on the desktop because I did not put a path to the file in the quote marks here. Now if you're using Windows, this path will put your tester2.txt file in the C temp folder. That's assuming you've got a temp folder in your C drive. If you don't want to worry about the path to a file, then just make sure that you have your program file in the same folder that you want your file to be created in. So if you're on the desktop, your file will be created to the desktop. So let's have a look at my desktop. Talking about desktops, first of all I'm going to save this so that now it's saved onto the desktop. Let's put that down. I'm going to put this down, and there is this is my file called file1.txt. So this is file1.txt. I'll just prove that to you. I'm going to click here, and there you can see file1.txt. So now that is the file I was using to read from, but now I'm going to create a file called tester2.txt, which will be placed on the desktop. Let's go back to here. So this file is going to be created and placed on my desktop. So I'm using the write code. So tester2.txt, this file will be created. W means write. In the program itself, tester2.txt will be referred to by the name of this file object called file2. And we're now going to use the write method. Now whatever you want to write to file2, you place in the parentheses, and there is the string that I want to write to tester2.txt. So it's going to write today's Friday. It will also write a new line, and then it's going to write tomorrow is Saturday on that new line, and then we close the file. So when I run this code, first of all it's going to read this file1.txt file. It's going to read a line, print the line, tell you the length of the line. It's going to strip that line, put it into a new string and print that, print the length of that new string, and then it's going to close this file. Then we're going to create a new file called tester2.txt, and that will then be placed on the desktop with two lines. The first line will be today is Friday, and the second line will be tomorrow is Saturday. So let's run this, and then we will see a new file created on the desktop. So here we run, and there we go, and there's tester2.txt. This has just been created on the desktop, and let's see what it says. And there you go, there's our new file, and that is the contents of the new file called tester2.txt. Now let's close that file. Let's just delete it, and just to prove that it is actually working, let's run again this code, and you'll see a new file called tester2.txt being created and placed on the desktop. So watch out for the creation of the new file on the desktop, and of course it was hidden by the shell. So let's try that again. Let's see if I can run. Of course it wants to put the shell in the place where I want to demonstrate. But there you go. I'm going to create this. I'm going to delete this. And when we run the code, it's going to create the new file and place it on the desktop. And let's run. And there it is on the desktop. Now if you want to give it a different name, I could call it, for example, test2, and then it will create test2.file. So let's change the text a bit. Let's have I'll just show you what happens if you don't put the new line here. Let's put file to write, let's copy that, paste, and I'm going to put this is the last line. This is the last line. Okay. And let's see what happens there. So now it's going to create a file called test2.txt and place it on the desktop. So I'm going to run this, and there it is. It's just been created here, test2.txt, and let's open it. Now we know it should say today's Friday. On a new line it'll say tomorrow is Saturday. Now I didn't put a new line after the word Saturday, so this last line will be placed directly after the word Saturday. And there it is. So if you want a new line in your text file, you have to write a new line at the end of the text. Okay, so here in this code I've shown you how to read from a file that already exists and how to write a new file, and I'll leave it at that point.